Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Joshua and this is Rooftop. Now, last night or yesterday, somewhere in the afternoon, I had I had messaged in the group saying that I wanted all of you to, you know, put up whatever paintings you had, or whether it was a drawing or a collage. It might be of the workshops that I do, or it might even be your own personal artwork. And I told them, I was like, from all of these artworks that you post up until midnight, I will select one painting and I will give them, you know, a shout out and maybe just drop in my opinions a bit here and there. So today I will be revealing who this winner is or who I have chosen. Now, if you want to know who it is, you'll have to wait a little bit and find out towards the end. So, in today's workshop, we are going to be messing around with a little bit of terracotta clay. Now, sculpting or maybe working with clay, you have different levels to it, like how with painting or drawing you have. So we have like maybe a little bit of basic pencils, and then we go into shading, and then we go into realism, and so on and so forth. And then you come to color, and then you come to painting. So in that way, today we will be looking at some very simple things that we can do with clay. It can be polymer clay, it can be maybe terracotta clay, or maybe just some normal air drying clay as well. So you can use whichever you are comfortable with. So let me show you. uh, 1 second. Yeah, so this is basically something we will be creating. Okay, let me just see. I might have revealed who I have selected. Okay, you know what, still some time for people to join. Should I okay. Well, for those of you who have seen it, maybe but we're going to pretend like that didn't just happen. Okay, so we will be making something like this. So here I have a cute little clay horse, just like this. And then I have a leaf here. Now I haven't painted this leaf, but I just wanted to show you the color of the clay that I'm using. And this one has been painted on. So if you see here, oh, there's a little bit of paint gone through it. But this is basically what we'll be creating. I'll try making it a little bit bigger, not so small, so you can have an idea. So in this, I'm using a bit of a terracotta clay for this, but you can use whichever clay you have at home. Okay, so I'll just keep this to the side. Now, before I do that, let me just show you what clay I'm using. So this is the clay that I am using. You get this at your stationery store. It's called modeling clay or air clay. So I will take a little bit of this clay out. So let's say this much, about that much. Now, I don't know how much it is in grams, but you can just take my arm for reference or my palm for reference. This, by the way, is clay, in case you have any questions. But now this clay, right, it takes a little time to dry. So what I will do is I will show you the entire process, but there will be certain parts. Now if you look at this one, if you look at this, if you see the brush strokes, they are very spread out, right? That's because this clay is still wet. You can see how it folds. So I will be showing you how to make all of this, but I just want you to keep in mind, which I will also remind you, that once we are done sculpting this, we will leave it to dry, let it rest until it is solid. Then we will take it and paint over it. Otherwise, what will happen is the clay will absorb all the paint and you won't be able to paint it properly. Okay. So now along with this clay, I have some cheap, sculpting tools that I got with the foam clay. So the reason why I'm using this is because you don't need expensive tools to do this workshop. So just to show that, I'm going to use the cheapest one that I can find, that I had found. And then here I have this glass cylinder, which is normally used for dot mandala painting. You just take the paint and then you put it down like that. So I'm using this as a rolling pin, which I will use to flatten out the clay. So now I will take this clay, I will just I'll be a little quick with it. So what will happen is, if you are too slow with it, it can stick to your hand. So I do not want that to happen, so I'll just keep moving it around. I'll be pressing it like this until I feel like this clay is soft enough. Or what you can also do is, now I'll do it on the table but the camera would shake, so I'm just elongating this. It's like atta. So this is a pretty good way to make sure your clay is being mixed properly. So this is what I have. I'll put these two ends together, then I will start rolling it this way. Then I'll start, after rolling, I will fold it. So I'll just keep it this way so you can see. I'll fold it like this. Just like that. It looks like a flower. Okay, then I will ruin it, just like that. So what this will do, right, is whatever clay is in the middle, it will help mix it properly. So it won't just be the outer part of the clay that is being mixed. Also the part that is in the center, that also will be mixed nicely. Now I'll just start making it into a ball. Let me know if you want to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I will put this down here. Now with this, now unlike flour or dough, when you work on this, we put a little bit more flour powder so that it's a lot smoother. But in this, we can't do that. We have to leave it wet as it is. So I will just take this and I will just keep flattening this with very little pressure so that it doesn't stick too much. See, just like that. Looks like a potato sliced in half, or like a mango seed. So I will extend this. So for those of you who have just joined, I haven't announced the painting yet. I will announce it at the end of the stream. So stick around and find out who is this lucky person to get a personal shout out from Rooftop itself. I'll just keep rolling. Now I want it to be a little, you could say, even. Yeah, I don't want it to be thick on one side and thin on the other. And I'm using this cutting mat again so that it doesn't stick to the table, because there'll be a lot of color left then. So I'm not using much pressure. I know I'm using my entire palm, but I'm not using too much pressure also. Let me just center this to the frame. There you go. I think right about there. And see, it's very soft, so it will start coming out. I'm using my forearm as well. It's one smooth motion. And if at all you feel like a certain side is too thin and the other side is too thick, you can then focus on that part. Ooh, look at that. So be a little gentle with it. Okay, so now that we have this down, what I will do is I will take another one. So if you have, say, this tool, you can use this. If you have maybe a toothpick also. Now, if you look at this, this is also for dot painting in mandala. So if you want to use, if you have this at home, you can use this. If you have these also at home, you can have that or use it. Or if you have a toothpick maybe, or just anything like a needle, I wouldn't recommend a needle, but anything pointy like this, you can use it to do what I'm about to do. Okay, I'll put this to the side. Now what I will do is I will just very lightly draw the horse. So I will have this, we make it a little thinner, like that on top. And then I'll bring this part down like that. Now there'll be a little bit of clay sticking to your hand. Or your hand might just turn. This looks like foundation. Okay, so I will just very roughly, okay, it's visible on screen. Just add this part here. So this is going to be the neck of the horse. This part is going to be the face. Now I'm just gently tapping it down. And if you don't want to use this, you can use this knife also that you get. But it's very uncomfortable to hold. It keeps rolling in my finger. So, well, I'm just trying to figure out a way to hold this. Okay. You can use this also to just gently tap it around. So this also I will take it like that. Now, for those of you who are interested to, participate in these, shout outs, or maybe in future we might have some giveaways also, and some competitions as well for the members who are there in our group. So if you're interested in joining it, you can just go to the description and our link is there for the WhatsApp group. And it's free, of course, there's no charge for any of this. But it's not a monthly, kind of subscription. Just for those who are interested, if you want to join, more than welcomed. If you don't want to, it's okay. I'm more than happy to have you join me in our live session. Now this, I will very roughly start bringing it down like that. And this part, I will take it slightly higher like this. Just like that. Maybe I'll just bring this part a little forward. Now, whenever this happens, right? Now, see if I have this line here. I can just move my finger left and right like this, and it will automatically cover it up like that. Now, each clay works very differently. So, if you're using a different type of clay, it may not work exactly like this. Bring this part down. Over here, I'll have the tail. And then this part can come down like this. So we're doing a very simplistic horse. We're not going to, make anything too advanced. Just something simple and something quick that, you can do at home. And then if you want, you can maybe put this on your bookshelf or as a decor. You can just stick it up or hang it anywhere. Okay, so now this part. Okay, I think this much should be enough. Now what I will do is, in certain areas, I will just cut it out like this. Same thing here. Let's bring it down. And then this area at the top also, I'll just slice it open. It's very soft, so it's very easy to cut it. But you just need to be careful that when you do go to cut, the corners will get pressed a little bit or compressed. So you just need to be a little careful with that. Hmm? So like now this part, I cut it out, then I will put my knife underneath it to unstick it and pick it up. It's very satisfying. If at all you have this clay or do end up getting something similar, maybe you should just simply try cutting it. You don't have to create an artwork. Just try cutting it and see how satisfying it feels. So whatever big areas are there, I will just cut them out. And now see for this tail, it doesn't have that much of a support as compared to the body. See, this part is very independent, you could say. So we'll just be a little careful with that. Now this part, I'll bring it down like this and move this to the side. Oh, that is satisfying. Oof, look at that. Look at how clean that cut is. This is like art therapy. And especially looking at how clean the cut is and how fine the outline is, this makes it a lot more fun. Now this part also, just curve it like that. Same thing here. And I will lift this part up. Oh, there you go, another one. One second. Okay. Now we'll do for this area. I will start from the top. And I will very slowly and carefully come downwards. And for this head also, you go like that. And I can try lifting this part up and see how. Oh, look at that. This is like this oddly. Hold on. Okay, this part isn't cut properly. Or maybe there is something still holding on. Ah, there you go. Yes, you can use a cardboard stencil also. That is a pretty good idea. But the reason why I'm doing it this way is I'm considering that, maybe not everyone has the materials at home and maybe they just have the clay. So in that case, how can we go about it? But the cardboard stencil is a very nice idea. You can do that as well. So now when it comes to painting or drawing or sculpting, everyone has their own techniques or method which they use. Like if you've seen any of my drawing videos, I use a grid line that I created by myself, which I felt comfortable with. So if there is a technique that you feel comfortable with, or you feel that it might make your work a lot easier, that's excellent. You should keep trying to find ways to do it. Okay, right now I am just, without realizing it, I'm just messing around with the clay because it's so soft. It's like a cookie. Now this I'll keep to the side. I'll just make it into a ball first so that it doesn't start drying out in between. Amazing work, thank you. It's gonna get even better. So now if you see, there are some parts which are very like cracked, you could say. So what I will do is I'll just take a bit of this and I'll start dragging it downwards, and I'm using very little pressure. I'm not using too much pressure. Like this. So for the edges or the creases, I'm just gonna round it out a bit. Does this clay require to be baked? Okay. So does this clay require to be baked? No, this is an air drying clay. So you can just leave it outside, and in a couple of hours it will, start to dry out a little bit. I mean, eventually. Okay, so I will, now what I can do is with this knife itself, if there are certain parts that aren't proper, I can just use this. To give it like a softer shape, and this part as well. Okay guys, just hold on a second. I think the camera is shaking a little bit. Let me just adjust it. I will be right back. Okay, I think that should be better. Somehow the camera quality improved. I didn't even touch the camera. Okay. So now I have this one here also, which if you see, it's sort of like a spoon. Let me try to get a proper angle. What is that? Yeah, like that. See, it's sort of like a spoon, it's curved inside. So I can take this and I can just use it to push the clay back. And then I can use that to smoothen the edges also. Like this, and then for the tail, oh yeah, as I was saying, that this clay does not require to be baked. It's an air drying clay. Just leave it out, and within I think maybe an hour or two, it should be pretty stiff. Now, besides this, there is this molded clay. That one dries up relatively faster than this. But if you have, like, say, a relatively big piece that you're working on, I wouldn't suggest using that, because by the time you start working on it, it will harden up. Okay, now this is a bit of a tricky part. So what we need to do is just lift this part up. We need to unstick it a little bit from the ground, from the table. but we have to make sure that it doesn't, break or tear or crack. So I'm just going to slowly lift this part up. Please don't break. Okay, like that. So there you go, we can use that as a stencil. So this part is very wet, which is why it looks like this, but once it dries it's going to end up looking like that itself. I'll just put this to the side and I will let it dry until I'm done with this one. So now with this, what I will do is I will try making a leaf with it. So let me just do that. Now what you can do also, right, is you can take impressions of leaves. So what I mean by that is, let me first just flatten this out. I'll press it down a little bit so that it's a little flat like that, and then I can very gently go back and forth. And if you're having a little bit of difficulty while doing this, like say it is not flattening out or it's a little bit hard, then that means you just need to keep mixing it again. Yeah, that means you just need to mix it again so that it softens up. See, this part has quite a lot of cracks. Let me look at this. This part is nice and flat. So I will take this. I'm putting a little bit of pressure, but not so much that it will break or anything. So I will keep lifting this up, and when I do that, right, I will even slightly pull it frontwards like this rather than up, so when I'm pulling it out it will stretch also. And here I will take this, now see, this one is a bit thick, so I can flatten it out a little more, and then I can touch it and see where there are bumps or uneven parts of this. See here also, very slightly I can just flatten that part out. Okay, now from this I can have, let me take the longest part. From here I'll just keep it very jaggedy, the lines are very wavy. See, something like that, or maybe I can just make it a little bigger. But what I'll do is I'll just cut it like this. Like that. Now I can peel this. Ooh, that looks very nice. And I can use this part, but I'll just keep it to the side first. I will remove this. Now the reason why this is all very, let me show you. Yeah, the reason why it's all very textury is because it is stuck to this. So when it pulls or when it lifts, a bit of it gets stuck and then left stuck and then lifted off, which then creates this texture. Okay, now I can flatten this out also. Let's make it a little bit longer to have that, that softness of a leaf. So now when I'm lifting it, I'll just push in the edges ever so slightly. Like I'm trying to lift it up and I'm trying to bend the corners also. Now from here I will take this off a bit. So this is how I'm doing. I'm just gently pushing it from the bottom. Okay. So I think today I'm giving a lot of sound effects. I'm not sure why. Okay, so if it tears like that, we will have to redo it again. Or what we can do is we can try sealing this. Let me try lifting this up one more time. Okay, wait. So I'll flip it over. Now this part is a little sticky, so it might make it a little more difficult to do so. So I'll just keep it here, okay. So think of it as applying a band-aid to it. I'll put this part there, lift this one up. Then I can just seal it this way. Now let me see, there you go, now it's not tearing. And then I can thin out this top part like that. Just add a little bit of a bend to this, just a little bit like that, so that it can look a little bit natural. Here also. Now with this I will take I will make this part a little bit thicker. Because this is the main vein of the leaf. And from here I can start. So you can try with different tools and see which gives the best results. Like this. You can do maybe some long veins like that, which are then interconnected. Same thing here. Make sure you don't cut it too deep. We don't want it cut, we just want creases. Something like that. So at this point, what I would recommend is leaving it to dry. Before that, I will just make the stem for this and put this underneath, then just press it down like this. And if this part comes a little too thick, you can just widen it out like that and then pinch it inwards to elongate it. You can keep it like that. Okay, now what we'll do is we will just paint one of this. Yeah, so as I was saying, at this point I would recommend leaving it to dry so that it solidifies before we start any painting. And once it dries, or once it's at least, sort of medium dry, like this. Now, if you look at this, it's not really folding. It is still a bit wet. If I put a bit of pressure, it will fold. But if I just keep it like this, it won't fold that much. Whereas if I take this, you can see how it's just hanging low, like that. So you want it to be at least this dry. I'll put this there. Okay, now I will paint this horse red color. So I'll take my acrylic paint. My hands feel very slippery because I think there's a lot of dried clay in it. I will take some red color. Now I don't want too much water in this. I want it to be a little thick since this is wet, but if it is, a little dry, then you can add a little bit of water to it. I will just very roughly cover the top first. Take a bit more paint. And try not, if at all you are going to paint over it while it is still wet, try not going over the same area for too long or too many times, because it will mix in with the clay and then your paint won't cover up entirely. Then I can go for the sides like this. And just remember that there will be a little bit of clay on your brush once you're done. So clean your brush properly once you're done painting. Whereas if it is dry, then you won't have any such issues. Like that. So now I used a bit of a thick paint, which is why it is, pretty solid. But if you look at this one, I had diluted the paint a little bit in water, so it even bled through a little bit. And even the color, if you see, it is a little bit dull. It's not as bright or as strong as this. I'll just take this and move it to the side over there. Now with this I will need to be a bit careful as the paint is still wet. I'll put it there. Now this leaf I won't be painting it. I'll just keep it over here. For the edges, right, what you can do is you can just pinch it a little bit and give it a little wrinkle effect, you could say. And sometimes the leaves are even folded on one side. So make sure you pinch, or else it can start to crack or break. Yeah, like that. Now over here also I'm drawing a little bit of the veins, but you can't see it because of the lighting. Okay, now I'll just wait for this to see, it's pretty wet. Yeah, if you're working with clay, be prepared to get your hands a little bit dirty. Now with clay, right, what you can also do is you can, let me just show you. I'll put this here. I'll just flatten it a little bit. Then like that. I'll chop this part out, chop this part out, and then maybe even from this side also. I'll chop it out a little bit. Now you can see how straight this part is, right? So if you want to flatten it, you can just push it down like this, or drag whatever clay is at the top part and then pull it down also. You can do that, or you can just wet your finger a little bit and then use that to smoothen the clay like this. See, now even the creases on top are gone. Now let's try that on this area also. Okay, what I'll do is on this part I will use a bit of water, and this part I'll just use my finger, and we can look at the difference. So I'll smoothen this part as much as I can with my finger. And see, I'm going over it quite a lot of times because it is not as smooth as I want it to be. There are still some cracks in it. But now over here, I'll just dip my finger in water like this, and then I will just smoothen this out. Look at that. Look how easy it is. Remember, we don't want to do this. We'll lift our finger up each time and we'll spread this clay out. And not only will it be covered, but it will be smooth also. Like that. So you see the difference between, with a dry finger you do it, and with a wet finger if you do it. Wet clay. We're using it on the clay. So dry clay and wet clay, we can see quite a lot of difference. Let me just try lifting this up and showing you. Yeah, so this is with the dry clay and this is with water. And look at the difference. It's like a day and night difference. This still has cracks, and if I maybe try to fold it, you can see the cracks like that. But over here, look at that. I'll even wrap it around my finger and it still won't crack. Okay, now I think this is, it's still a bit wet, but it's okay. For now, what I will do is I'll just take some tissue. I'm sure the clay must have absorbed most of the paint. So I'm just taking this and removing any extra paint that may be on top. There. Okay, now that we have this part done, now let me see, if I try to extend this, right, it will start cracking a little bit, or the paint is going to go. So I will take some white paint. Let me just close this. Now if you bake this clay, right, I think that also should work, but I wouldn't recommend it as of right now. You can just leave it in the air to dry. Look at this one also. Look at how smooth that looks. It looks like it's made from some factory. This part I haven't done anything. So if I try to fold this, okay, not bad. It's not much happening. And here also, look at that. It's still maintaining its shape. So you can see how smooth and how lovely that looks. Yeah, I'm just trying to show you, if I try to fold it, it still won't crease. It still have that smooth finish to it. Okay, now I will take some white paint. Now for this, I'm just directly taking it out from the paint bottle. And I want to use much water, so I'm just going to do this. You don't have to do this. I would recommend you putting it in a palette and then doing so. Okay, now over here, let's bring the part down. Now see, remember I said this clay is still wet, so the paint won't sit on it properly, so I have to use a bit of a thick stroke for this, a thick paint. But once you do let it dry, then this will work very smoothly, as if you're painting on paper or as if you're painting on a wall. It's like that. Then here as well, I'll put one line there, line here, some dots. On this side I can just have a little diamond in there. Like that. Again, just a reminder, make sure that the clay is dry. If I had a dry one, I would have shown it to you. I could have repainted it, but right now I don't have it. So you can experiment it with yourself. What you can do is you can create two. One in which you paint immediately while it is still wet or soft, and the other one is once it dries out and it is solidified, then you can try painting over it. Like that. Just like this. Till we can have a bit of a design there. Here we can have like a mini mandala. So whenever you draw these lines, right, make sure you draw it towards this dot here, so that it will look like it is resonating from the center. Take a bit more paint. Now, as soon as I'm done with this, I will be revealing the selected painting which I had chosen from in last night's request. Yeah, I will put this here. Just like that. And then this side I will paint the eye over there. I made that a little too thick. Let me see what I can do. Yeah. And then I can add some dots also right above this. Just like that. So let me show you. Okay. Almost ruined it, but I did not. So there you go. That's a terracotta horse. So we have the mama and the baby right there. We even got a little bit of a stencil like thing here. Again, that's because this is still wet from the back. Look at that. Now what I will do is in the group, once this is dried, I will send an update so you can see what it looks like, right? So that's all for today's workshop. I hope you got to learn something. But just before I go, like I said at the beginning of this video, that I will reveal the painting that I've selected. So let's find out who it is. Let's have an imaginary drum roll. That sounds terrible. It is. There you go. It's by Renu Bell. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. This is a wonderful Pattachitra painting. And looking at it even more closely, you can see there's a lot of very minute and very intricate details. And I hope Renu, if that's how you pronounce your name, I hope you keep practicing and I hope you keep painting and keep posting more and more of your works, because this is such a beautiful piece of art and I couldn't be any happier to see it. So for those of you who are interested in joining these sort of shout outs that we do, or maybe we will even start having some little competitions as well. Sorry, Mata Ni Pachedi. My bad. Mata Ni Pachedi painting. I got confused with the name. So for those of you who are interested in participating in these workshops, or looking at what we do behind the scenes, or where we inform you about these shout outs or giveaways, you can look at the description and have a look at what we do. So thank you everyone for joining me, and congratulations Renu for submitting your work and for getting selected. I hope this motivates everyone to do it. You can join the group. It's free of course. There's nothing to be paid for, and whatever we do, it's a very interactive session. So thank you everyone for joining me, and I hope to see you again in the evening. Bye bye.